the height of the migrant crisis, an estimated 4,000 asylum seekers were arriving in New York City on a weekly basis. Now that number averages a little over 1,000.
That's right. So over the last 2 years, more than 200,000 migrants have come through New York. And for many of them, their first stop was the intake center at the Roosevelt Hotel. Joining us this morning is Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Williams-Isom, to explain where we stand and what comes next. So good to have you here, Deputy Mayor.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So certainly this is good news, right? That the most recent numbers show that it fell under 1,000 for the first time. Do you anticipate that to be a trend moving forward, and what are you attributing it to?
So you said we have good news this morning, and I think that that really is encouraging news. 900 people is still a lot of people. I don't want to lose sight of that, but I think that we're moving in the right direction. And when I hear you say over 200,000 people have made their way here, what I'm really proud of is that over 70% of them have already made their way out of shelter and towards their American dream, which is what they really came here for. And we've been able to really save over $2 billion with our really smart policies and our operations, and clearly with some of the executive actions that were taken by the White House.
Yeah, when you look at that number, though, of 900, and if you anticipate that trend to continue, what are you attributing it to? Is it tighter border security? Is it something that the federal government did at the border?
So I said this week at our off topics, if you really look back to what the mayor was saying 2 years ago, it was that we as localities, as cities, don't really have the tools that we need in order to really control that front door. So we were really pleased that the White House and President Biden listened to what we said and took action at the border. We need expedited work authorization. That's the way that we can really get people out of shelter quickly. I think our 30 and our 60-day policies also helped to, make it clear for people and the expectations that this is temporary, and making sure that we have a resettlement process. I could really use a national resettlement strategy right now because there's so many places in the country that need workers. We know that immigrants have been the backbone of this country, and so if we had the federal government helping to coordinate where is their housing, where do we need workers, I think that that would really help to move that number and our census down.
Speaking of that policy, 30 and 60 days, how's it going, and how many people are you actually seeing reapply for housing after the 60 days is up?
So I say the 30 and the 60 days is an important tool that we have. I think over about 50% of the families that have gotten their 60-day notice have made their way to something else and resettled. When we have our 30 days and sort of our extenuating circumstances, which was the thing that we went to court for, we're seeing that about out of the 1,900 people who have applied for that, about 67% or so have been denied and are then moving on, and about 30% have been approved to get additional time. I have a really exciting announcement that I want to talk about, so I want to get to that, but you go ahead and ask me a question.
Yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. I just want to ask you one more question about the actual shelter system. If the numbers continue to decline, when do you anticipate starting to close some of the shelters?
You're making me smile, Dan, because I think that has really been our process and our idea from the very beginning. I think we're going to start to consolidate where there are vacancies in other places. And right now, I think we're up to about 213 shelters in different places around the city. So as we see that number go down and the census go down, we will be able to strategically.
Could it be this summer?
It will be this summer where we're starting to really decompress, is the word that I would use, or decant sites. Some of our larger sites where we know that we have, whether it's 2,000 or 3,000 people, can we take that down a little bit and put people in other places? So that's part of our plan.
You want to talk about the announcement?
I do.
Okay.
I want to say that one of the things that I'm very excited about is that the American Bar Association has given New York City an award for our innovative application health center that we just celebrated a year for. When I think about it as something that is the best of New York City. We were able to get together with law firms, with academics, with corporations and volunteers, students, and really come together to work on the legal aspect of people being able to have work authorization and their TPS, and do this first of a kind in the nation help center with over 58,000 applications that we've been able to do. And so it just makes me very proud in the midst of all of the madness. We talk a lot about the chaos that's been happening, but able to come up with this idea, Molly Schaefer and Masha and all of these great public servants, then having New Yorkers who step up to say that they want to serve. That's why I say it's really the best of New York, seeing people step up to really support migrants.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, congratulations. While we have you here, I do want to talk about some off-topic things as well that aren't migrant-related, and it has to do with the health world. We have a reporter on this today. Dengue fever, mosquito season is here.
Yeah.
What do we know about that in New York City and how you are handling it?
So one of the things that we know, there's about 140 cases that we've seen. Most of those people got infected someplace else, not here in New York City. We have a pretty robust, the way that you get it is through a mosquito bite. We have a pretty robust surveillance system and how we are making sure that we are spraying. Dr. Vasan tells me about the helicopter that he has and how they go around in different parts to make sure that we are controlling mosquitoes. And, you know, as the temperatures and climate change changes, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. So we're making sure that we're keeping an eye on it here.
Okay, I've got to ask one more question.
Okay.
With all the migrants and the number decreasing and them getting help and maybe closing out the shelters, we know you have this EBT system in place where they get some assistance financially to buy things. How long is that program going to last, and who's eligible? Because so many New Yorkers feel like it's unfair and they would love some help too.
So New Yorkers already are eligible for SNAP and cash benefits, and this is something that's similar to this, but this made so much sense because it saves money. It allows the families to decide where they want to get their own food from so that they will be able to not have waste of food. It was a minority-led organization who got the business, and already we've seen that about $600,000 has been recycled in the community. We've saved, I think it's about actually that same amount in the past 13 weeks, and we're on course to save about $7.3 million in the end as we do this over the next 6 months. So we think it's smart, we think it makes sense, and we think it's good for migrant
It's going
families.
to be in place for the next 6 months?
It's going to be probably in place maybe more than that, but we're expanding it to 7,300 families right now.
All right, Deputy Mayor Ann Williams-Isom, appreciate you being here this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon, okay?